Hello! Welcome to my second devlog. Buckle up because I have a lot to talk about. If you don't know who I am, what you've clicked on, or what I'm doing, stay for 5 seconds. I'll do a quick intro. Let me set the timer. Alright. My name's Kira. I'm making a traditional Korean cooking game in Godot. 2 seconds to spare. Nice. So the idea started off originally as a capstone project for my handy-dandy game development degree, which has left me with many prospects. I've decided to reject them all these bountiful offers, dust off the demo in the meantime, and take you all with me, because why not? It's admittedly a little weird, shouting into a vacuum, but it's good not to take yourself too seriously, and if I don't let my 88 viewers hold me accountable, I might not get anything done, so I'll just hop into it. Okay, a little bit of backstory. I posted Devlog 0 like 15 days ago, at least at the time I'm making this, but in reality I made this months ago. Since then, I've finished my demo, showcased it at a games conference, and actually had some random people find it on itch and rate it. Shout out to you three. As we have it now, I have a 10 to 15 minute demo, depends how you play it, complete with a couple cooking encounters, different characters, and a very first pass of my story. So you go to grandma's house, have some stilted conversation, explore, talk, and cook. The game hints at the spirit world with some funky transitions in lighting and character sprites, but I was pretty hard pressed for time, so I didn't actually get to flesh out the end. However, feel free to play it if you want, it's free, it's only on Windows, and it doesn't take that much time. That's pretty much the gist of it. There's a complete-ish cooking system, which allows the players to sort of puzzle point, click, identify, drag and drop different ingredients to unlock arcade-style minigames to emulate cooking. You make something, Bob's your uncle, they taste it, you move on. It's great. Except, it's not. I f***ed up. I got into my own head. I thought, well, I need this to be perfect. So after I finished working on it, I just didn't touch it. I was a little scared of it, actually. It's something that I care about because I love cooking and games, and the story is based on my family and I. So because of that basis, I knew I wasn't quite satisfied with what I had, and I thought if I ignored it, it would just go away. However, it was eating away at me, mainly the cooking. So I have a problem with cooking games and cooking in games. I love it, but I'm not quite satisfied with what's out there right now. The Papa's franchise, iconic, it's great. Cooking Mama is what I grew up on. But there's just not enough substance to keep me hooked past playing it in maths class. I love stories. I wish there was a narrative, like in RPGs. However, the cooking in RPGs doesn't satisfy me either, because it's mainly just to serve a bigger goal. Like, the cooking in Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild is great, it's super fun, but it's not really cooking. It's kind of drag and drop and explore, mixing and mashing different things. Still fun, but not what I want. I will say an honorable mention to Venba, which did have a lot of focus on cooking, but more in a puzzle mechanic sort of way, which isn't really what I want to do. So, I'm attempting to marry RPG and cooking in a way that doesn't sacrifice the narrative or tactical satisfaction that cooking naturally has. Which is really hard because I don't know what I'm doing. So I'm just gonna go throw a bunch of stuff at the wall and see what sticks. What I like. Toka Boca Kitchen. It's so satisfying. You get to pick what ingredients you use, explore the different stations, and you have this really tactile experience, which I find quite similar to the physical motions of cooking. One of my favorite parts is the feedback you get from characters. They have different preferences and they react according to what you feed them. As my cooking currently stands, I had to tutorialize and sacrifice a bunch of things to meet the deadline, so was life, but I want to include this collaborative experience, to have some NPC feedback but also the freedom to explore, which is pretty vague, so I got to the drawing board. I knew I wanted exploration to be a main part of cooking, so I decided to make a really quick prototype where the NPCs have wants. So for example, crunchy, spicy, etc. You can pick different dishes to cook for them to try and figure out what they want. So once you find them all out, it unlocks the final dish and a longer, drawn-out minigame chain plays. While the idea on paper is fine, I realized that the system just didn't allow for failure. You can cook one dish and it'll be like, I don't like that. How about a different one? So it doesn't really allow for trial and error. So I was back to the drawing board. I was discussing with different people about what I should do. I decided to reflect more on how my family actually cooks. The cooking in my game is largely based on my mom. She's an awesome cook, was a food critic, and still whips up crazy meals. But she always improvs or adds her own twist on recipes. When she measures, if she does, she doesn't really take note of it, or she always changes it to her intuition. So I liked this idea of having this intuitive measuring, where each NPC might have a different seasoning preference, and you can learn by trial and error. Another aspect I wanted to add in was cooking to figure out what dish the NPCs would like. I thought this would add some cool story opportunities. Like maybe you need to converse to find out what dish they want, and it also ties into how food is linked to memories or moods. So eating a dish when you're sick, or you're sad, or you're happy, like comfort foods. So then it was back to the drawing board for that. I talked to one of my friends about this, and he had some good suggestions, like swapping the wants for a gauge bar of some sorts. He also advised me to physically prototype it and use actual cooking. So I went ahead and I sort of did that. So I am a part-time game dev tutor, and in my class we did an assignment that was to make a card game based on a retro arcade game. So I kind of did the same thing, in which I tried to make cards. So let me just flick through all of these. So the first card the player gets is this one that says Jima. So this was the NPC card. On the back it says some narrative. So I am Jima. I like comforting homestyle food. And then she's in the mood for a drink, and then it tells the player to serve their grandma. The NPC, so in this case me, also got this card that said, you are Jima, you want hot tea with sugar. And then these criteria based on water. So because she wanted hot tea with sugar, I thought, okay, then that'll be plain because water's plain. It's gonna be sweet because sugar's sweet, and it's gonna be warm because tea is warm. So you had these 3 bars, and you'd move, like, I had these 3 little icons. I'm gonna use these pieces of eraser to show you. So if the player gave me just plain water, I'd say, okay, cool, that's plain. It's not sweet, so I'm gonna put it at less sweet. And it's also not hot, so it's here. And I told the player that the right side was the good side. And for the player, this looked like question marks. So I'll just like this. Groundbreaking. So it's pretty much trial and error. You try out different combinations of water and stuff until you get all the bars here, and then these reveal, and it would be like, okay, she wanted plain sweet warm, she wanted hot tea with sugar. So it's a really interesting exercise because it actually forced me to think about the NPC as sort of another player and make more interesting design choices. But it also left me with a bit of an issue, is you have this big trial and error with moving these different bars from the default position, and now you have to figure out how they want it to be served. So I'm a bit worried that it's going to be too much exploration, so I'm going to look into how to tie in that taste and how to balance it, and that'll be the purpose of the next devlog.